Friends, imagine a car where you have to look for the door handles somewhere in the floor at knee height, and you can hardly fit a bank card into the glove compartment. The cup holder is also not located on the side of the seat behind the back. Strange, isn't it? Today, friends, we will tell you about the most expensive and luxury car of the last 50 years, namely the Lamborghini brand, talking about one of the most expensive cars in the history of mankind. It is impossible not to dwell on the biography. Its creators consider the Italian industrialist and businessman Ferruccio Lamborghini to be the father of the Lamborghini brand. And when this happens quite often, Ferruccio was born in 1916 in a family of ordinary farmers. Since childhood, his father taught the boy to work on the farm, and also instilled in him a love for various mechanisms. Always, if something went wrong, be it a basic grain crusher or Ferruccio hand tool, I was next to my father and helped him with the renovation. And by the age of 12, his parents noticed that the boy was very interested in small metal parts, from which he skillfully made something all the time. Video of his son's hobby in one of the barns of the farm. The father even created a small workshop for Kerch, equipped with all the necessary tools for design. Just like that, the boy slowly began to cast various parts for working equipment, but one day on the most ordinary day the Pharaoh, who's, as always, worked in the workshop, was unexpectedly unlikely to show up. One of the parts sparks on the wooden floor. It takes a couple of seconds and starts to burn only miraculously. At that moment, his father was nearby, who quickly figured out what to do, thereby being able to save his farm from a big fire. Despite this incident, Ferruccio did not abandon his hobby, but only continued to study it. After graduating from school, he entered a technical university, where he easily acquired knowledge in the field of casting and welding. Having received a professional license, without wasting a day, he immediately got a job at a local forge, and in 1932 he became one of the blacksmith's apprentices. Gained 2 years in this practice. Already in 1934, he changed his place of work and settled in one of the workshops in the city of Bologna, where he worked directly with the military. It is worth noting that the guy was crazy about what he loved. Besides the fact that this work brought him a small income. So he also liked her. This, probably, was the main thing. Precisely because of his love for this business, he would later build a career, making contacts and studying blacksmithing. A year later, having tamed it, he returned to his hometown of Chengdu. There, the young master opened his own workshop together with his friend Marina Filippini. Then they were only 19 years old, but they were able to work together only for a short time until in 1939 they were both drafted into the army. Until 1943, Ferruccio worked for the benefit of the army, but independently repaired military equipment as a domestic and imported production. This circumstance helped the young guy a lot, because he was able to gain experience that he definitely would never have gotten at the university. In 1943, the island of Rhodes, where Ferruccio served, was captured by the Germans, having learned that at the time of the capture Barry was the head of the workshop and the personal mechanic of the top management. The Germans, without hesitation, gave him the choice of prison and death or work. Ferruccio, of course, chose Gela as the chief mechanic for repairing German equipment. Even when the war had already ended and the island became part of England, the talented master remained to live there until 1946, after which he nevertheless decided to return to his homeland. Knowledge gained at the front, he tried in every possible way to transfer it into real peaceful life. Returning to his hometown, he was not without work. Not a day did orders come one after another, and by the end of 1947 there was not a single farm equipment in his city that the forum members did not have a hand in. Realizing that his knowledge and work are popular, having collected all his savings, borrowing part of the amount from his parents already in 1948, he founded the company Lamborghini Trattoria SPS, where he works hard to simplify the lives of local farmers, giving them a car that will perform they are part of a difficult job. As strange as it may sound, in just a year of work, you invented one vehicle for the company. So, in 1949, Lamborghini Trattorias produced its first tractor of its own production. The engine was removed from a military truck, and the buck was an evaporator from members of the forum, but they had to construct it themselves. In general, almost all the elements were borrowed or modified over the years. The first few tractors were offered to local farmers, and they were so pleased with the mechanical work. The engineers, after a few months, made about a dozen more orders, and a year later the number of orders for Lamborghini tractors was so large that the company no longer had time to fulfill them. Of course, it was necessary to develop in Peru, which was in short supply of labor. This was a place for production, but the most important part for assembly was then already 35 years old, and he thoroughly made his choice. He knew that he wanted to connect the rest of his life with the production of equipment, and therefore took a risky step through his father. He takes out a loan from a local bank. At the same time, the guarantee is for the guarantee. Is the entire family farm and tractor production workshop. Yes, the business was risky, but he was confident in himself for the round he received. By that time, he had purchased 1,000 new Morris engines intended for future tractors. In the same year, about 50 units of new equipment were sold, and for the next 250, the Lamborghini tractor was in demand due to its inexpensive price, as well as ease of execution and quality of service. Any boy could fix this tractor. The company developed very rapidly. In the post-war years, working on the land was almost the only way to survive. The number of employees grew every year, as did the equipment, which was replaced almost every 2 years with new and better ones. Until 1960, Ferruccio was successfully engaged in the tractor business, until he decided to expand the scope of his business. This year he opens another profitable enterprise, Lamborghini Bars Autonia, which develops boilers, heating and cooling systems, and also engages in their maintenance, thanks to which almost the entire alley is gradually switching from coal heating of their houses to gas. Of course, the revenue from two enterprises was very good, and in general, thanks to the well-coordinated work of the entire team and all workers, the Italian economy, destroyed during the war, began to slowly grow. And here, friends, we've come to probably the main question: how did Ferruccio come to produce a car? Everything is very simple. Despite his professional interest in the tractor business, Ferruccio was also a car enthusiast. He often improved the cars he had, supplementing them with his own developments. So, for example, the first car that was handed over was a Fiat 500, but the businessman's heart was given to sports cars. One such car was the Alfa Romeo 1900 Sprint. In 1955, he decided to buy a Mercedes-Benz 300 USSR, but quickly became disillusioned with it and sold it. The reason for such frequent changes of car, as the independent worker later said, was a large number of shortcomings that emerged only during operation, and this did not depend at all on Togo, be it a Ferrari or a Maserati. According to Ferruccio, every car was not perfect. At different times he had several Maseratis and Jaguars. Most of all, he preferred the Ferrari 250 of various modifications. By the way, it was Ferrari's ownership that prompted Ferruccio to develop his first car. Or rather, what happened one fine day? The question of how one appeared. The Lamborghini car was answered by the son of Ferruccio Lamborghini after the death of his father. The whole point is that Ferruccio once came to Carri's factory. Complain about the quality of the clutch in his Ferrari 256. The father just wanted to talk to Yenisei, perhaps even give him some advice and help him fix this problem. But to his surprise, the hot-tempered NC sent his father back to where he came from with the desire to continue working on his tractors, calling him a provincial farmer, because in cars, and especially sports cars. According to NC, he doesn't understand anything. Ferruccio returned home and after that, with his own hands, together with the chief foreman of the plant, he dismantled the transmission of his Ferrari 256. I discovered that the manufacturer of many parts is the same as that of Lamborghini tractors. He simply found a suitable replacement in his warehouses and after assembly the problem was solved. At the same time, Ferruccio made a promise to himself to teach his competitor a lesson, and Ferruccio did not even suspect how far Ferruccio would go in this matter to teach him a lesson. Having caught fire with the idea of creating his own high-speed car, Ferruccio quickly realized what it should be equipped with. The engine was helped to develop by George Besbelli, who at one time worked for Ferrari. The clutch was made identical to that of a tractor, and the idea of creating a body helped to turn it into reality. Designer Frank Rocchi already in 1963. Ferruccio opens another company, now for the production of cars under the name Ferruccio Lamborghini car. For the first time, his company's car appears at the official opening of the Turin Auto Show in 1963, where a one-of-a-kind Lamborghini 350 GT creates a sensation among the public. It was designed to be a good ride and fun. By the way, the car was only partially ready for its first appearance, but having received several dozen orders, in May 1964 its design was finalized, launching serious production. At the next auto exhibition in Turin, another car, Model B400, was presented. However, Ferruccio was not particularly pleased and, having finalized it, released a new improved version by 1966 with the new name Miura. No one expected such success. In just a couple of years, 764 copies of the new car were sold. By the way, the price of the car at that time was no less than $20,000 per unit, thanks to which the car unconditionally fell into the luxury category. But even this moment did not stop real car enthusiasts. Thanks to such sales, Lamborghini quickly overtook Ferrari. Leave it somewhere far away at the start with such success. The Lamborghini car market is gradually replenished with new models. At the beginning of the 70s, such a model as the Asmora came out, followed by the Jerome 400 Jodi, better known in narrow circles as a personal Rolls Royce and Streams, and a number of SUVs were also replenished with the Uchida model, developed primarily for sale to the US Armed Forces. But another successful car with an unusual design and guillotine-type doors became the Lamborghini coach model, which accelerated to 300 km per hour and became the first supercar in the Guinness Book of Records. In 1979, a more improved version was released. Kondachka 400 with an engine of 455 horses. For the first time in the history of this brand, there was a 4-valve engine, but unexpectedly for everyone, not only the automotive industry, but also the tractor, rose by 50. But the engineer decides to leave his post as manager. The reason was the termination of the contract for the delivery of agricultural machinery. In South America, this is what plunged the company into a state of crisis, the only way out of which, according to Ferruccio, was to sell part of the company's shares. He manages to sell the shares to Lear and Georges André in 1972. And the oil crisis that happened in 1973 became another confirmation of the correctness of his decision. But all tractor production is gradually leaving the hands of the Italian concern. In 1974, he completely sold all the shares, and with the money he received, he bought a villa in Castilla-Lenga, where they began to grow grapes and make wine. And he leads a quiet lifestyle. There he also makes golf cars and even once independently assembled a car for Pope John Paul II. Since the departure of the whole goddess, several more models have been released from the companies that have become iconic in the automotive world. But even thanks to the launch of new Lamborghini models, financial difficulties could not be avoided. Unfortunately, due to problems with roads and cars that were no longer popular, interruptions in the supply of spare parts and components left their mark on the company's fortunes. All these seemingly minor troubles led to the fact that in 1978 the Lamborghini company declared bankruptcy. All shares were put up for auction, where they were purchased by the MEM brothers. A couple of years later, the company fell into the hands of the Chrysler Corporation under management, which came out with an improved model. Han, which received the memorable name Diablo, but even she could not save Lamborghini from accumulating financial problems, and again Lamborghini passed into new hands. This time, all the shares were acquired by a fairly large Indonesian investment group MTK. The new director became the house I carry the card, who also failed to develop something progressive and relevant, but easily managed to add debt to the company, unable to withstand the onslaught from competitors. In 1998, Lamborghini again changed hands with the new and last owner of a controlling stake. The Audi J concern became. It was Audi G who became the owner, who was fully able to organize the entire production of Lamborghini in a high-quality and productive manner. Under his influence, the design of cars changed significantly, making them more universal modern styles. It is thanks to the invested efforts and finances of Audi AG. To this day, the entire Lamborghini automobile range is considered one of the symbols of the attributes of a luxurious lifestyle all over the world. In some, they specially order exclusive components, come up with and implement unique, expensive designs that make 1,000 customers from all over the world fall in love with them. In 2001, a new model called the Murcielago was released. 400 units were sold, and in the same year the grand opening of the Lamborghini History Museum took place, which is still in operation today. There, everyone can get acquainted not only with the history of the brand, but even sit in each car, which has become iconic for all centuries. 10 years later, the Lamborghini lineup was replenished with one more new model. The Lamborghini Aventador, which accelerated to 100 km per hour in just 3 seconds, and since 2014 another Lamborghini Huracan model has been produced, significantly expanding the collections of sports car lovers. 3 years later, in 2017, the Lamborghini Urus SUV was released, differing from its predecessors in its large size. And the color scheme is known to many that Lamborghini cars can often be found in the United Arab Emirates, where the police calmly drive around in them, patrolling the street, or, for example, in the Italian police, where Lamborghinis are used to transport donor organs. But the most interesting specimens can be seen in the flow of St. Peter's Square. Police often use cars, more like Golf-style Lamborghinis, to pursue potential criminals. And after all, among a large crowd of tourists, such a car will be much more convenient and maneuverable than a supercar. Today, the Lamborghini logo has remained unchanged since 1963. The gold color of the logo demonstrates the superiority and rich traditions of the automakers, but few people know why Ferruccio chose this particular sign. The thing is that this animal was chosen for a reason. Ferruccio Lamborghini's zodiac sign was Taurus, and it was believed that thanks to the influence of Taurus on the development of his character, he was able to achieve such success, because he always went ahead even to places where, as it initially seemed, all the doors were closed. It is remarkable how just because of 9 years of management of the company Ferruccio changed the automotive world and turned it upside down. Fully introducing the production of sports cars. I know some of the things I didn't get while working in the tractor business. Lamborghini Ferruccio managed to fulfill almost all his dreams. He wanted to be better than Esther in everything, and he became better. And he even wanted to live longer than he did. Ferrari died at the age of 90. Ferruccio firmly decided to live to 91, surpassing him in this too, but life has its own rules and procedures. Unfortunately, this was not destined to happen. Lamborghini Ferruccio died on February 20, 1993 at the age of 76. Having left an indelible mark on the history of the automotive industry, since the appearance of one car under the Lamborghini brand, 23 different models have been produced, including the latest. For example, the Aventador Miura model was released in a limited size of only 50 cars, and, by the way, it would turn out to be a very generous investment for true connoisseurs of this brand. After all, every year the cost of this model grows by at least a couple of million. Even in complete silence, just sitting in the cabin, you can easily feel how before your eyes the car almost silently increases in price. For the first time, Lamborghini established from the very beginning that his car did not participate in racing, so during the years of his leadership the company did not produce racing cars. But once under the leadership of Rossetti, the company, along with the BOM, decided to create a car suitable for auto racing. However, Lamborghini did not cope with its part of the task, and the car was completely destroyed. Developed by the sports department of BMW. It later went into production and sale as a BMW in 1986. To participate in Group C competitions, the company created the Lamborghini Cube XX. The car was built, but problems with sponsors forced it to sit out the season. The QX competed in only one non-prize race at the Johannesburg circuit in 1986, driven by Tiffany Ideals. Although the car performed quite well, the financing program was discontinued from 1989 to 1993 year. Lamborghini supplied engines to 12 for Formula One cars in 1099. Lamborghini entered its own team in racing. It lasted only one season in 2014. One of the Staffordshire students, Mark Foster, even created a concern in memory of Ferruccio, called Lamborghini Ferruccio, dedicated to the 50th anniversary of the car brand Lamborghini. In general, this is such an amazing world of these beautiful and mega cool cars. The wonderful world of sports cars Lamborghini, which was developed by an ordinary farmer's son, and later a tractor manufacturer. And it's even hard to believe that if it weren't for the rude words of Enzo Ferrari, if it weren't for the problems with the clutch on Ferruccio's car, then most likely the world would never have seen it. These cars, which today are the standard of luxury, success and beauty, but out of habit, it's probably worth adding that everything big always starts with small things, be it a simple desire to create something with your own hands or just words thrown to the wind. Friends, perhaps that's all for today. Write your opinion in the comments about this amazing story. Also rate the video of the ambulance.